Could Kevin Durant leave the Brooklyn Nets if Kyrie doesn't return? When KD first came into the league, many thought, like with most college prospects, that he would be a good fit in the league and could help make the then new Oklahoma City Thunder a memorable squad. Little did we know at the time, we'd be witness to one of the greatest to ever do the game in certain respects. However, ever since a key departure to the Brooklyn Nets, things haven't gone his way, and now his teammate in Kyrie Irving might be flaking on him. And so the rumors are starting to fly on what he might just do next. The Kyrie situation. The ongoing drama surrounding the Brooklyn Nets just took another turn. Charania of The Athletic and Stadium reported Kevin Durant is monitoring the Nets situation and considering options with his future. Charania added, the development now opens the path for Kyrie Irving to proceed on finding a new home via opt-in and trade. Regarding Irving, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reported the guard had already assembled a list of his preferred destinations in a trade. ESPN sources. If Kyrie Irving can't reach an agreement to stay with Brooklyn, he has a list of teams he'd like them to consider on sign-in trades, including the Lakers, Clippers, Knicks, Heat, Mavs, and 76ers. None of those teams have cap space to sign him without Nets' help. Brian Windhorst of ESPN reported on Get Up that no teams are making moves right now to try to clear space to try to make a path to give Irving a big contract. He also said Irving may not be pushing for an exit, but rather attempting to apply pressure to the Nets to give him the money he wants. Perhaps Durant is deploying a similar tactic. The 12-time All-Star is just starting a 4-year, $194.2 million extension in 2022-23. But Charania's report may be a not-so-subtle message to the Nets about how his fate could be tied to Irving's. Wojnarowski reported how some around the NBA are rooting for Irving to opt out and walk away from the Nets, believing it would give them a chance to cobble together trade packages to acquire Durant. Durant and Irving were a package deal when they arrived, and they might be a package deal when they leave. The Nets have painted themselves into a corner, and their two best players could be all too happy to remind the franchise of that. Charania's report could also be a boon to Irving's trade market. The 30-year-old stock is at an nadir following a season in which his decision not to receive the COVID-19 vaccine had severe consequences for his team. He also had messy divorces from his last two franchises. Making him one of your cornerstones is a risky venture before factoring in the potential cost of a long-term contract. If Irving looks increasingly attainable, on the other hand, rival general managers may begin working the phones more feverishly to see if they can make a deal work. Firing up the trade machine to throw together hypothetical moves for Durant is a natural reaction to the latest news. But KD, considering all of his options, still feels some distance away from outright requesting a trade and causing the Nets' grand experiment to go up in flames. But, as in all things, we'll just have to see how this goes. But the thing that is important to remember is that even though KD is one of the best around, he's also been one of the most injured around since a key departure. The lingering injury. As most people in sports would agree, you never want to wish an injury on anyone, not even your most hated rival, because an injury can derail or even end a career, and depending on a situation, put an asterisk on a major win happening because if they hadn't gotten injured, it would have been different. KD was in top form when the Golden State Warriors fought the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Finals. But then, during those finals, KD got injured, and it was a very bad injury at that. His injury was that of an Achilles tendon, and it sidelined him not just for the rest of the finals in which the Warriors lost, but also made it so that he wouldn't be able to play for the next NBA season. Which was ironic because after that finals, he went and signed a big deal with the Nets, even though he wouldn't be playing for them that season. Essentially, he got paid millions to do nothing. It wouldn't be until the following season, December 2020, that Durant would make his debut with the Nets. But even with that, there were problems. Because when he was on the court, he was dynamite. The problem was that he wasn't on the court all the time. In the last 2 seasons he played, Durant hasn't even come close to playing a full season. His playtime would be best described as intermittent, such as when he was out with an injury that lasted from December of last year until March of this one. Granted, by next season, he could be 100% healthy and ready to go. But, based on recent history, that's not a guarantee by any stretch or metric. Now, unlike with someone like Kyrie, Durant wouldn't have to worry about people not wanting him despite the injury, because they know that if he is able to shake it off, he'll be one of the best in the game. But they will know that this doesn't exactly mean that they'll get him or that they'll have enough to win with him. After all, the Boston Celtics literally swept the Nets in the first round of the recent playoffs, despite having Kyrie and KD on the court at the time. Plus, if KD was to leave, you can bet he would have requirements in terms of whom he would want to go to. Championship material. Here's the thing. At this point in Kevin Durant's career, he has a singular goal in mind: titles. He stayed with the Oklahoma City Thunder for a long time because he felt that they had what it took to be a championship contender. And they did get to the finals one year with him, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. The problem was that not only did they lose in those finals to the Miami Heat, headed up by LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh, but they never got back to the finals. That's why, when the time came, Durant made the decision, unpopular though it may have been, to leave the Thunder after his contract expired to go and play with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Coach Steve Kerr made it clear that they could win a title without him, which they did last year, ironically enough, but that they would win multiple with him. And they did. They won back-to-back titles and went to 3 straight NBA Finals with Durant on the roster, the third being the finals with the Raptors that they lost. So, if Durant were to leave the Nets, he'd want to go to a team that he knows he could help lead to the finals and win a title on his own. But whether he can actually do that isn't just dependent on his injury status, it's about what teams would be able to get him. Sign and trade. You see, not unlike Kyrie, Durant has a big contract. In fact, he just signed an extension before the beginning of the last season, and it's not a cheap one at all. As such, the best way to get him somewhere else is through a sign and trade, just like with Kyrie. Now, as noted before, there are plenty of people who might be up for doing that because of the potential of Durant. But whether it actually works out or not is debatable at best. Because in the best case scenario, the Nets would get a good deal to dump Durant elsewhere. Whereas Durant will likely be on a team that lost some key pieces just so he could go there. The Warriors were already pretty complete with KD signed on. That situation won't happen here. If it happens at all. Yes, remember, these are still rumors, and until it happens, both KD and Kyrie are still part of the Nets. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at Kevin Durant and what he might just do, not just with the Brooklyn Nets, but his career as a whole? Do you think that Kyrie leaving would be enough to get him to leave as well? What teams do you think would be able to give him the best deal in order to lure him over to their side? What will his legacy be if he does make another move? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.